Mother Maria Lucrezia Zileri, the woman of faith and courage, a woman with a vision who was able to see what is beyond the present time. Continuation of the series of the biographical notes of the servant of God, Madre Maria Lucrezia Zileri. The superior of the mother house, Maria Agnese Choya, immediately came back from San Michelino, who left the previous evening. Then from Colecchio, other sisters came with their superior. She asked the dying, "How are you, dear mother?" "Well, very well," she answered. "Father Cattaneo told me a few words, but those words comforted me a lot. Then he brought me the Lord Jesus." The superior of Colecchio replied, "So, mother, don't you feel pain?" "Nothing painful, everything is well." She said it with confidence that made the superior think that the Lord would console her with special comforts. Later, the pain was becoming more severe. Her temperature reached to almost 41 degrees, and the patient exclaimed, "My dear sisters, help me. I cannot bear it anymore. If you could find something fresh, I think the Lord would be happy about it." When the Reverend Father Cattaneo came to administer to her the extreme unction, she seemed not to fully understand her state. But when the Confiteor was recited, the Venerable Mother accompanied him with a clear voice, answering all the prayers. At the Holy Rite, the community was present while weeping, which seemed to be not being able to lose the mother. After the extreme unction, Father questioned her whether she was willing to live or die according to what pleases God. She replied that she totally entrusted herself to the hands of her Lord. Then she dozed off. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and stared at one point of the room and stretched out her arms, and with a loud voice she exclaimed, "Ave Regina Colorum, Ave Domina Angelorum." And she continued with the antiphon and adding also a short verse. But her dear life was coming to an end. She made a sign of the cross, began to recite the 6 Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be, which she usually prayed every day in order to acquire indulgences while counting as usual. 1, 2, 3. But she didn't go on anymore. She replied with a maternal smile to the request that Mother Choya made for the forgiveness for the pain that they could have given her, and requested her to remember them in heaven. She was asked to recite the last ejaculation and the act of acceptance of death. Then she entered into agony. Praying at her bedside were Archbishop Monsignor Conforti, Reverend Father Serafini, and other consecrated and influential people. At 20:40 of that day, August 3, 1923, Mother Zileri fell asleep in the peace of the Lord. Her daughters also surrounded the bed, burst into tears. To comfort them, Monsignor Savazzini, knowing well the holy life of Mother and moved by the very serene manifestation of her death, said to the weeping daughters, "Do not cry because your mother has kept intact the baptismal innocence. She is already in heaven." He felt inspired to chant the Te Deum. The sister took turns in praying while weeping around the venerated mortal remains. A sense of peace soothed everyone's soul. On the 6th, during the funeral, several mothers and sisters from the various houses came. Her mortal remains was transported to the chapel of the house. 4 masses for her repose were celebrated there, and one of which was celebrated by the Reverend Father Battisti, superior of the Venetian province of the Company of Jesus, who came from Venice for this purpose. In the Gospel, he outlined the spiritual features of the deceased in a touching way. There, the mortal remains was taken by the assistant of the parish priest who was not around, which, followed by the procession of the community and the students, was carried by the sisters to the nearby church of San Rocco, where the solemn funeral rites were celebrated. It was consoling the spontaneous participation of the secular clergy, of the delegations of the religious orders and institutes, and the many people who loved the venerated mother and the institute. After the funeral mass, the funeral procession was done and moved towards the Villetta, the cemetery of Parma. Upon arriving there, it headed towards the grave of the Ursulines, passing over the hippodrome of the Casa Zileri, where the body of the Venerable Father Giulio, father of the late Mother Lucrezia, rested. The Venerable Mother now sleeps in the austere sleep of death in the grave of the Ursulines of the Sacred Heart. However, her daughters have a very lively hope, a profound confidence that God will soon transform the tomb into an altar. This desire of the Ursulines of Parma is placed reverently at the venerable feet of the Vicar of Christ, and they pray to the Divine Heart so that she will be known by the whole Church and glorified with the honors of sainthood. She, who in the highest practice of Christian virtues and in the active and fruitful apostolate of her long life, knew how to be an agent of God and the fragrance of Jesus Christ on earth. The Venerable Mother spent her days animated by a very lively faith that infiltrated her completely, drawing from faith the spirit of self-denial, of charity and zeal, which became one of her beautiful characteristics. Open and uncommon intelligence, calm and serene spirit, big and sensitive heart, mastery of oneself and one's actions, refined, associated with an enchanting childlike simplicity, deep and profound humility that can be felt, exceptional prudence, firmness of will, fortitude of spirit in all trials. These are all the excellent qualities that made the image of Mother Maria Lucrezia Zileri brilliant, in which the beautiful gifts which nature gave her generously were infinitely elevated and enriched by the supernatural action of the grace that invested and penetrated her soul. A truly great woman, entirely dedicated to the service of God and the Church. Soon, the informative process of the life and virtues of the Venerable Mother will begin at the ecclesiastical court of Parma. It is the first step in the long canonical procedure that leads to the recognition and elevation of holiness of the servants of God. May it please the Lord that soon the Vicar of Christ may declare to the whole Church and to the whole world Mother Lucrezia Zileri as heroine of Christian virtues and as intercessor with God. The Ursulines of Parma, who, in Mother Zileri, venerate with the affection of the daughters, the most tender mother, the wise co-founder of their institute, and the religious exceptionally edifying in a spirit of faith and sacrifice, invite all those souls that love their institute to join them in prayer in order to obtain from the Almighty God what they desire. Mother Maria Lucrezia Zileri, the woman of faith and courage, a woman with a vision who was able to see what is beyond the present time.